And welcome back to Local Edition on Time Warner Cable. I'm Steve Swatt with the Sacramento Report. In the next few minutes, we're going to talk about the small business climate in Sacramento and state of California, also about education. And my guest is David Hadley, a newly minted member of the State Assembly from Torrance in the South Bay. Thanks for being with us.
Great to be here, Steve.
So when we talk about small business and the small business climate, your new committee assignments overlap to some degree, and most of them deal with the small business climate in California, which I know is a major concern of yours.
That's right, Steve. So my committee assignments, I'm on the Banking and Finance Committee, the Utilities and Commerce, Natural Resources, all committees that have a significant impact on the small business and the business climate in the state. You know, I'm a small businessman myself, and one of the major reasons I ran for the Assembly is that California needs to make significant changes if our next generation of youth are going to be able to stay and thrive here and develop their careers.
There's been a great deal of lip service in this regard over the last several years, but do you think there's not been much progress?
I don't think there's been enough progress. We have, despite all the amazing advantages that California enjoys, from the coast to the weather to Silicon Valley to the aerospace industry, Hollywood, tourism, etc., we have the fourth highest unemployment rate of any state in the country. We have the highest poverty rate in the country. We have a lot to do to make it possible for businesses to stay here, for jobs to stay here, for families and communities to thrive here.
I want to switch gears, only because, and when we talk about education, because you come from a different perspective than we've heard from in the last several months regarding Governor Brown's subsidiarity, as he calls it, which is more local control to schools, but also funneling more dollars to those schools that have more English-speaking, non-English-speaking students. And in Torrance, you've been telling me that you've sort of been getting the short end of the stick.
That's correct. I live in a special district. In most of my district, people move to the South Bay for the public schools. We have some of the really high-quality public schools in the state. My wife and I have educated our 4 kids in our local public schools. And I support the concept of the local control funding formula, of empowering school boards and giving parents and voters and school board trustees the right to drive their schools. But the math has been very unfair to the South Bay. So for example, in comparison with the 39% increase in school funding, K-12 school funding over the last 4 years that Governor Brown touted in his inaugural remarks a few weeks ago, our largest city, Torrance, has seen a 14% increase, 1/3 of the increase of the statewide numbers. And most of our school districts are not even back to pre-recession funding levels as a direct result of the local control funding formula.
Of course, the flip side, or the argument on the other side, would be your schools in your area are fairly affluent, and you have English-speaking students that don't require more help.
Correct. And I'm not saying that it needs to be parity. I understand the challenges of educating all different kinds of students. But if we want a formula that drives affluent parents out of public schools, the local control funding formula in the long term has a severe risk of doing that if the math behind the formula continues as it is.
Only a few seconds left. What do you think has been shortchanged in your schools?
Oh, I mean, we still have not restored programs that were cut 6 and 7 years ago, whether it was class sizes, certain science classes, field trips, arts, music, etc. Our local communities, because they value our schools so highly, have really stepped up with education foundations, and we privately have done some of what we needed to do, but the math of the local control funding formula makes it very tough to keep up.
All right. Well, we're out of time for the segment, but David Hadley, thanks very much for coming by and talking about these issues. We appreciate it.
Thanks very much for having me. Look forward to being back.
And we'll be glad to have you back. And thanks to our viewers also for watching Local Edition on Time Warner Cable. A reminder, you can see this and other interviews on YouTube, My Government On Demand, and the California channel. I'm Steve Swatt. Have a great day.